Hi, I'm Neo Nix. After every live show, we find ourselves having intense post show conversations. So we decided to leave the record button on and let you listen in. So this is Truth Lies Shenanigans, the after show. In our live show, season 3, episode 10, Ellen Dahl was sitting in for Liz Z, and we had fashion designer, film producer, and author B Jeffrey Madoff join us to tell us about his career and what he's working on. Our main topic was the murder of 8-year-old Fantability by police, and in quickfire we discussed the COVID baby boom, lockdowns for the unvaccinated, and the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Our guest, Jeffrey Madoff, stuck around to join the conversation, and we ended up talking a lot about Rittenhouse. Take a listen. Welcome back to our after show. Yeah, this is yeah, usually we have about a half an hour, but our show went a little longer than usual. So, because your stories were amazing. I didn't want to stop. I was listening to you, and it was like I didn't want it to stop. So
I know.
I kept going.
Exactly. We had to
So,
hear out your stories.
Jeffrey, I'm very curious. Professionally, you have traveled internationally, and I'm just wondering if through your professional travels, you have found a place that is personally special to you.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I like that. I like that answer.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm New York City. I love New York City.
New
I'm
York.
always happy to be returning here, no matter where I go. And I've been other places where I've certainly enjoyed myself. But as Dorothy said, there's no place like home. And New York is my home.
From New York? Are you from Ohio? I'm sorry.
I'm from Ohio. But
Okay.
I've lived in New York way, way longer. That's a weird threshold in life when you get old enough to have lived somewhere else
wow.
longer than the place you grew up and left when you were 18,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
one of those early milestones.
I did want to get everybody's thoughts, including you, Jeff, on the Rittenhouse trial. So the question I had was, do we think that age should play a role in terms of because he was 17 when he committed the crime? Do we think that
Yeah, but
age matters in this case?
he had a big boy gun.
But I mean, he's still an immature individual, right? Because I mean, when you see him crying on the screen, sobbing like a baby. I mean, it
Sure.
reminds you that he still was a child. When I was 17, I was dumb. I wasn't still an idiot.
Were you that
Yeah.
dumb?
I was
You
pretty.
that
I wasn't
reckless?
that dumb. Yes, you're right. I
Were
wasn't
you
that
evil
dumb.
though? That's
I wasn't
a little
that dumb.
different.
You weren't that. You probably weren't even
wasn't
close
that-
to being that dumb.
Yeah. What do you
I
think,
think I was-
Jeffrey?
Oh,
I think that he had an incredibly misguided sense of his mission. And that, as Rob had said, the mere fact that he traveled across state lines, was illegally armed, somehow viewed himself as a vigilante, which is what he was acting as,
Mhm.
and he's not qualified as a medic. That would be like if I broke into your house, Johnny, and you got out a gun and me as the burglar shot you. And I said, well, self-defense, she was going to shoot me.
Ah,
Why did I place myself in that kind
that's
of
a
a
good
situation?
way to think about that. Actually, that's a
So
great
the-
analogy.
So the fact that he traveled across state lines, put himself in harm's way, where he had absolutely zero justification for being there. That's the difficult thing. I think that the prosecution, from what I can tell, and I have to qualify that because I'm only going by what I've read in the paper or the news reports. I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this, nor did I sit in and listen to the unedited hearings of this.
Sure.
But the fact that he did what he did, there is no justification for it. So I think I think that he was delusional, and I think that he had a very misguided sense of mission, of what his mission was and what his place is in the world. So yes, he's immature, and there are people that are older than him that are that are immature also.
Mhm.
But I don't think one of the things that I think is a bigger question is that it seems as if the notion of consequences for actions has almost gone away in these last few years. And there needs to be consequences for actions if we expect people to respect our social conventions
That's
and our
true.
laws.
That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, I am worried that he'll get off actually, because I mean,
I
it's
think he will.
looking like the
I don't know.
prosecution is not winning this case. You were going to say something,
Oh.
Ellen, about
Yeah, I don't think he'll win it either because the prosecuting attorney is blowing the case. The judge absolutely despises this guy at this point. He blew up at him. Yeah, I, I think he's gonna get off.
I mean,
I mean,
but
he's gonna be
these.
charged for having like a weapon underage, but I think he's gonna be acquitted.
So we're all in agreement that age doesn't matter here, right?
17 on the cusp of
Uh,
18, Neo. I'm sorry, you're making big boy decisions at that point in time.
Totally.
A lot of us at that point are making those first steps along our life path.
But I mean,
Unfortunately,
you can be
this is a
influenced
huge
to
miss.
do wrong. I mean, you can be influenced. I mean, especially when you've
But
got a
influence
president,
doesn't.
when you've got a president of the United States, egging people on to do these things. I mean, he's
But
still a
being
child,
influenced
and
doesn't
right?
mean you're not culpable. Because you've been influenced
Oh
doesn't
no,
mean you're
yeah,
not culpable.
yeah,
Right. Because there are also other people who have been exposed to the things that he's been exposed to and managed to not go put themselves into trouble and kill 3 people.
true.
Like there are plenty of people who are influenced by Trump and his followers, and he was like throwing up white power signs and he hung out with the Proud Boys. It's like plenty of
Yeah.
people who are vulnerable in other situations in these situations figure out ways to not go somewhere they shouldn't be with an AR-15.
Well, we have a comment from Daria Winter online right now. He needs to be locked up. Those who filled prisons with people of darker hues for lesser charges and younger ages make this ludicrous.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point in terms of equity,
Mhm.
because I'm certain if and this is where I believe one of the things that should be on trial is privilege here. I mean, because like look at this.
Mhm.
There was if you recall after um he shot these people. This is after he shot this. This is an image of him after he shot the people walking right next to some. Oh no, when was this? This was.
That's one of his friends. That's not a
That's one of
cop.
his friends. That's right. That's sorry. This is
Uh-huh.
one of his friends. But immediately afterwards, he walks right past the police with his
He surrendered.
AR-15.
Uh-huh.
Well, no, if you remember, right after right after he shot the
Mhm.
guy, he had his AR-15 and he points down the street and he
Mhm.
says, and he just walked right past the police. The police don't do anything. He had to, like you said, he had to surrender himself because the
Mhm.
police did not arrest him, even though he's walking with an AR-15.
I mean,
I mean, whereas, of course, they go down and they assume that it was um, the black crowd that was causing some type of problem. But I think we should be looking more at the privilege here. Even when you look at him on the stand, what is he going to get away with?
I mean, I don't doubt that he felt he was on a mission that he was righteously justified in doing, which is a problem
totally.
in and of itself.
That is a
Mhm.
problem.
But again, that doesn't remove one from culpability
Mhm.
because he thought he was on this mission that he was going to protect people or businesses. There's a lot of delusional people out there. And that doesn't, there is, of course, an insanity plea that could be taken. But the point is that he should not escape legal blame. And the prosecution, from what I can tell, couldn't be doing much of a worse job than they are doing. And I would question whether or not the judge is even unbiased because he seems to be
Yeah.
unhinged in his responses to this case.
I was wondering.
So if I were
about
the prosecution, I'd go for a mistrial based
Yes.
on what happens
Yep.
because there seems to be prejudice that's going on there also.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Absolutely.
What do you think is going to happen if he does get off? What do you think the results are, Yanni? What do you think will happen?
I unfortunately think that it's going to probably cause some violence in the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be some stuff going on down the street for you and me. And,
Oh yeah, University
yeah,
of Maryland. Yeah. What do you
Well,
think,
I'm
Gianni?
saying DC. DC keeps the pulse of that kind of stuff.
In
Like if there's
DC.
anyone protesting anywhere, they're gonna be on Pennsylvania Avenue first.
Oh, I just feel that if something doesn't cause another not a civil war, but like a war in this country, then that will. I think because it's like something that people really have been following this entire time. It's one of those cases I think that was no, it wasn't part of the Black Lives Matter, but it was something that I feel like has been followed by the Black community in a long time, for a long time, because they just, like you said, it's his privilege that's been oozing out throughout this entire process. So
I mean, he needs to be
violence, chaos.
if he's not convicted of murder, he's gonna have to be convicted of something, or
Absolutely. I think he will
or
be.
there will be riots. I agree with you guys.
I don't think he's going to be completely cleared, but I personally think that he will be acquitted on the homicide charges.
I think he may be too. George Fournier says he wanted to feel big and important and perhaps famous. Mission accomplished.
And just so you know, George is a lawyer. He's actually my lawyer.
Yeah.
But
Right.
what I found the most amusing thing that I found, that the only amusing thing out of this was after he took the stand, was that Merriam-Webster updated their word of the day to crocodile tears, because the tear. Oh yeah, I mean you have to watch the video to see him cry on the stand, because the tears on the stand were definitely not tears of remorse. It was a tear fabricated out of the fear of possible consequences. Is he scared for what might happen to him if he is charged or if he is acquitted? Hell yeah, who wouldn't be? Because if he gets off, you've got a bullseye painted on you for the rest of your life. You're going to get a random shit kicking, and you're going to know what it's for.
In his testimony, he said he did nothing wrong, so he definitely is not remorseful.
Right.
Yeah.
I think.
No.
I will say, I think that I don't think that was for show. If you want, if you watch it, he's beginning to stumble over his words. Like, he clearly, to me, is having a panic attack. You don't need to cry to have a panic attack. He was like beginning to hyperventilate. I would have had a panic attack if I were him. I think it was real. That shouldn't obscure any. That shouldn't that shouldn't change anything. But I don't think that was fake.
I think I kind of agree with Robbie on the crocodile tears, because I think he was thinking more of the consequences of his action as opposed to the actual remorsefulness of his actions, where he felt bad about his actions.
But the panic attack was real, but it wasn't about remorse. It was about, like you guys are scared. Yeah.
I think he was scared keeping his story straight, because he was talking about something like the actual moment that he shot someone when he was doing that, and I think he just like lost it. I don't think he was like, oh my god, I killed this person, but he was like, oh shit.
Yeah, but you never saw him crying when he was flashing his white pride signs and hanging out with the Pride Boys and Ricky Schroeder.
That's true.
Ricky Schroeder.
There's no fear at that point.
For sure.
I'm gonna switch gears real quick before we close it out. So, Jeffrey, you are hilarious. And I mean, I'm just curious.
That's a hell of a switch of gears, by the way.
Right? All right. So you were hilarious, but Ellen is looking, because we don't have a lot of time, but Ellen is trying to be a comedian. Do you have any advice for her?
Yeah, be funny.
Okay. I'll try. I'm with that.
Ellen is funny.
She is funny.
Ellen is funny. Yeah.
Have you done stand-up yet? Have you done stand-up yet?
No, but I've been writing jokes for like 2 or 3 years now. So I need to.
Really?
So we need to get you on a stand-up.
The thing that's interesting about comedy and stand-up, and I know a number of stand-up comedians, and the thing about stand-up is you get immediate feedback about your product, which is a joke.
Yeah.
You get it immediate. People laugh or they don't.
Yep.
So the only way you know if they're going to laugh is you have to get up in front of an audience and test your material. Totally. And be ready for maybe some unpleasant experiences, but that's part of the gauntlet you have to run when you become a stand-up comic. Right. So, so I think that the only way you can do it isn't writing jokes at home, which is a start, because you have to develop material, but you have to get it in front of people. And that could be, by the way, you could also become a comedy writer and not do the actual performing yourself. It depends on what you want to do. but that, and I don't know your career goals, but I
Mhm.
think that that's really you've got to decide what it is you want to do, and sometimes it might just take getting in front of an audience to see if you in fact like what that faces you with, because it can be pretty
Right.
brutal.
Right.
Mm.
But you might be a good comedy writer and not a performer, or you may find you love performing, and that's the way you
Mhm.
test material.
Mhm.
All right, and my final question for you, and this is going to be, is you know, you're a film producer, you're a video producer. So, what advice do you have for us to improve our show?
Mhm.
I'm looking for some suggestions of how we can improve and get better.
Yeah, as an internet.
And be
I
honest.
would,
Phenomenal.
Feel free to be honest. I like honest.
well, I
Yeah.
would say that you guys have a great rapport and that you don't necessarily agree with each other, which I think is a plus.
Okay.
And I think moving the show along quickly is a good thing to do. And so I think it's just a question of, always refining, and then what kind of feedback do you get and how does that work for you? So I don't have any prescriptive notes to give you of great wisdom,
Mhm.
but
Uh,
I've had fun doing this, and it
Awesome.
was fun spending a couple of hours with you guys. So I've certainly enjoyed it.
All right, we've
And
had
you'll
fun
find
with
it
you.
ultimately from your audience. You know,
Mm.
that's how you
Mhm.
find out when you're doing a live show.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've got to shut it down. I know Robbie's got to go get his dinner. So, thank you so much, Jeffrey, for joining us.
My pleasure.
It
Thank
was
you guys.
definitely a
Thank you
lot
so
of
much,
fun.
Jeffrey. Wonderful.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
And when your show opens up, we're gonna have to get you back, and we're
Great.
gonna have to find a way. And Ellen and I are gonna be there.
Yes.
Terrific.
Why? I want to go.
All
I'm
right,
gonna go to DC.
all right, Gianna,
and
you're
then
gonna have to
we'll go.
drive up to here, up to DC, and we'll all go together.
Easy.
Yeah, we're not making
I'm
another
gonna
stop. We're
I'm
not
gonna stay in Canada, eh?
Well, are you even able to cross the border yet?
Yeah. I know that they have opened up the border for driving, so it's just I'm not eager to get there yet. Though. Sorry.
Okay, you should go to Florida. That should be your first visit.
Oh, fuck.
That should not be his intro to
last.
coming to America for the first time in a while.
Exactly.
Florida,
Exactly.
Imagine
Maine, or something peaceful and serene.
everything
Yeah.
bad happens in Florida.
One of my coworkers, she visits Florida regularly because she owns a place in Florida. She's gotten COVID twice.
Oh my god.
There you go.
She literally caught it
I
twice.
thought you were immune the first time you get it.
No, that's not how
Oh,
it
that's an
works.
Aaron Rodgers type thinking. Come on. No.
Caught it twice. All right, guys. Thank you again so much. You all have a good night, and I will see you soon.